It was a crisp Saturday morning, the kind where the air smells like dew and distant chimney smoke, and the streets are alive with the muffled whir of passing cars and the occasional bark of a dog. In the heart of a small town nestled somewhere, between rural charm and suburban promise, a tiny auto garage sat quietly between a bakery and a dry cleaner. It wasn't fancy, just brick walls faded by the years and a creaky sign that read Joe's Auto and Repairs. But what the shop lacked in polish, it made up for in heart, and Joe, the man behind the name, was the soul of the place. Joe had seen better days. His hands bore the grime of years under hoods and beneath chassis. His eyes carried a weight far heavier than engine grease. A single father who had lost his wife to cancer 5 years ago, Joe raised his teenage son on the modest earnings from his shop. He worked long hours, took pride in honest labor, and rarely took breaks. He didn't have much, but what he did have, he earned. As he wiped sweat from his brow that morning, he noticed a small figure pushing a battered pink bicycle up the sidewalk. The front tire wobbled, and the chain hung loose like a forgotten necklace. The little girl, no older than 10, wore jeans with holes in the knees and a helmet that looked 2 sizes too big. She struggled, huffing and puffing, but there was determination in her every step. Joe stepped outside. "Hey there, kiddo. That bike giving you trouble?" The girl looked up, startled, and then nodded shyly. "Yeah, I was riding and hit the curb. Now it's all messed up." Joe knelt beside the bike, giving it a quick once-over. "Looks like you knocked the chain off and bent the wheel rim a little. Nothing too serious." He glanced at her, expecting a parent nearby. "Where's your folks?" "My mom's. Busy. I was just going to figure it out myself," she said, trying hard to sound braver than she felt. Joe hesitated. He had work waiting, clients expecting him, bills piling up. But something about her, the fierce spirit, the worn shoes, the bruises, on her knees, made him pause. "Tell you what," he said, standing. "How about I show you how to fix it instead of just doing it for you? That way, next time, you'll know." The girl's face lit up. "Really, really. Name's Joe. By the way, I'm Emma." Inside the garage, Joe set the bike up on a stand and handed Emma a pair of gloves. He walked her through the basics: how to align the chain, how to tighten the bolts, how to check the brake pads. Emma listened like it was magic, asking questions and wiping sweat from her forehead with the back of her arm. Time flew. It was like watching his own son when he was younger, back when life still had the soft edges of hope. What Joe didn't notice was the sleek black car parked across the street. Inside sat a woman in her early 40s, dressed in a tailored blazer and silk blouse. She'd been on a call when Emma had disappeared from view, and worried. She had tracked her daughter's steps from the coffee shop patio they had been at earlier. Now, she sat silently, watching through her tinted window. Her name was Angela Maddox, CEO of one of the most successful tech companies in the region. Powerful, intelligent, and always pressed for time. She had cleared her schedule, too. Spend the morning with her daughter, but had taken a work call. Just one more call, telling Emma to stay close by. When she looked up, and Emma was gone, her heart had stopped. She followed at a distance, preparing to swoop in. But what she saw in that dusty little garage stopped her cold. Angela watched as the gruff-looking mechanic kneeled beside her daughter, handing her tools, gently correcting her grip, smiling with genuine kindness. There was no condescension, no dismissiveness, just pure, quiet teaching. Angela had seen corporate mentors offer less patience to interns than this stranger gave her. Daughter inside the garage, the sun shifted, and time slowed. Joe didn't know he was being watched. He didn't do it for credit or payment. He wasn't trying to win customers or impress. He was just a man helping a kid with a broken bike. And somehow, that simple act hit Angela harder than any business, proposal, or quarterly success. When the bike was fixed, and Emma did a victory loop around the parking lot, Joe clapped. "You did great," Emma beamed. "Thank you. Can I come back sometime and learn more?" Joe scratched the back of his neck. "Sure, but only if you promise to keep those training wheels on for now." They both laughed. Just then, the garage, Door creaked again. Joe turned, expecting another customer. But instead, a woman stepped forward. Sharp heels clicking softly, but eyes warm and brimming with something deeper respect, gratitude, and maybe even guilt. "I'm Emma's mom," she said. Joe stood up straight, wiping his hands nervously. "Oh, I didn't mean. She just came by," and Angela raised a hand gently. "I saw everything. I just wanted to say thank you." Joe shrugged. It was nothing. Just figured she'd learned something useful. "No," Angela said, stepping closer. "It was everything." Joe had never been good with praise. Compliments slid off him like oil off a wrench. He nodded awkwardly as the woman Emma's mother extended her hand. There was something familiar about her, but Joe couldn't quite place it. She didn't look like the type to show up at an auto shop. Everything about her spoke of corporate boardrooms and luxury sedans. Yet here she was, standing in his dusty garage, thanking him like he'd just done something extraordinary. "I'm Angela," she said warmly, her voice softer now that the moment had settled. "Joe," he replied, rubbing his hands on his worn-out jeans. "Emma's a smart kid, picked things up quick." Angela glanced at her daughter, who was now circling the parking lot like she owned the world, the bike chain clicking smoothly and the wheels spinning true. The sight made Angela's throat tighten a little. She hadn't seen that kind of joy. In Emma's eyes, in a while, she's been having a rough time, Angela said, almost more to herself. "The move. My job. I've been so busy lately." Joe didn't say anything. He knew better than to fill silence for the sake of it. Sometimes people just needed space to breathe between their own words. Angela looked back at him. "You didn't have to help her, and you definitely didn't have to teach her. Most folks would have turned her away or done the job and sent her home." Joe shrugged. "When my boy was her age, he used to hang around here all the time. Learned more in this shop than he ever did in school, I think." He smiled faintly, the memory flickering behind his eyes like a faded photograph. Kids need that someone showing them how things work. Makes the world a little less scary. Angela nodded. "Yes, it does." There was a pause. Then she added, "Do you mind if I come by tomorrow? Maybe Emma and I can stop by again." "I'd like to talk to you about something." Joe hesitated. "Sure, but I'll be under a 2002 Tacoma most of the day, so you might have to forgive the grease." Angela smiled. "I think I can manage." The next day arrived with the same. Clear skies and warm air, but the mood in Joe's shop felt different. Emma bounded in ahead of her mother, holding a bag of cookies from the bakery next door. "These are for you," she said, proudly placing them on the counter. "Mom said you probably don't get many breaks." Joe chuckled. "That obvious, huh?" Angela followed him behind her, wearing jeans this time and a simple blue sweater. She looked less like a CEO and more like a mom something about the change made. Joe relaxed. After some small talk and Emma being preoccupied with a pile of old wrenches, Angela leaned in a little closer. "Joe, I want to be honest with you about something." "All right," he said, setting down a screwdriver. "I'm the CEO of Maddox Tech." He blinked. "The tech company?" "Yes, we moved out here after the new branch opened. I've been under pressure, expanding the team, managing operations, trying to keep everything perfect. And in the middle of all that, I lost track of what matters. My daughter, her joy, her curiosity." She glanced at Emma, now dismantling. An old radio with childlike focus. "Yesterday, you reminded me of something I forgot. That time, patience, and kindness are more powerful than any job title." Joe looked at her quiet for a long moment. "I'm just a mechanic." "I didn't do anything special?" Angela shook her head. "That's where you're wrong. You did something rare. You gave her your time. You saw her. You gave without expecting anything back." She reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope. "I want to offer you something," she said. "We're launching a community initiative STEM outreach. Mentorship. Hands-on skills for kids who don't fit into the traditional mold. We need someone to lead the mechanical engineering branch for youth. Workshops. After-school programs. I'd like to partner with you." Joe's brows furrowed. "Me, I don't even have a college degree. You have something better," Angela said gently. "You have heart. You teach with soul. That's what kids need. Joe leaned back against the workbench, stunned. His whole life, he'd stayed in the background, fixed what was broken, never expected the world to give him anything more than another day's work. And yet, here was a window to something bigger. He glanced over at Emma. She had managed to hook up a small motor and squealed as it whirred to life. It works, Angela grinned. She learned more from you in an hour than she has from a month of online classes. Joe took a deep breath. All right, let's talk about it. Months passed. Joe's garage remained open, but every Thursday and Saturday it transformed. Kids from the neighborhood poured in, some shy, some wild, all curious. Joe taught them how to change tires, build small engines, even repair broken toys. He spoke their language, simple, honest, and patient. Angela funded the program and showed up, often not as the CEO, but as Emma's mom and as someone rediscovering what mattered. The local news picked up the story, then national outlets. The garage that built futures, they called it. But for Joe, the real success came in quiet moments, like the day Emma tugged his sleeve and whispered, "I want to be an engineer when I grow up," or the teen who'd been skipping school but now showed up every weekend, eager to learn. Daughter, the night Joe's son, home from college, said, "Dad, I'm proud of you."